those of you who are entrepreneurs, and we are looking so much. We're looking forward to.
Tongue tie.
I'm so tongue tied right now. We are looking forward to hearing from you and how you've been navigating through coronavirus crisis. And so today we're going to talk about survival tips for CEOs, for entrepreneurs, because we know that you have dealt with some of the same things that we have dealt with as an entrepreneur. Now, for those of you who are startups, we're going to give you some extremely great tips that hopefully, if you take into consideration, you won't have to go through some of the things that we went through while going through this crisis.
And even if you're not a startup, I guarantee you, if you tune in, you will get something out of it. I mean, the information that we share is really dedicated to people like us, people who have like mind, people who want to be entrepreneurs, people who are entrepreneurs and ready to jump in and kind of change and shake some things up concerning their business.
Hey, all right, I'm sharing it with you guys.
So go ahead and like, comment, tune in to what we're doing. If you have any questions, today we're still talking about managing your emotions during troubled times. And so what I need you to do is maybe share some comments below of what you did this week that kind of helped you. Maybe you faced a situation where you felt like you were hopeless and you were able to overcome that situation and help somebody else out, or help one of your employees out, or help a fellow person in business. So definitely, I want to hear from you in the comments.
Okay, so
just share on.
I'm hitting share, and this is going to open it up to so many more people. So I look forward to having someone actually managing this aspect of the show, but in the meantime, I'm the one doing it, and it's all good because I want to make sure that you guys get what you need out of this episode. Now, we're going to talk about 6 tips today. 6 tips. And these tips are designed for you to navigate through this crisis as a CEO. All right, I have 2 more that I'm going to post here.
And if you are tuned in, guess what? We are streaming on multiple platforms. We are on YouTube. We are on Periscope. We are on Facebook. Of course, that's where we started, on Facebook Live, because, hey, that's where you are.
Yep. Yep. So today's tips come from Bernie Dixon. She is the chairman of Launchpad 2X. I saw this and I just said I have to share this information with our network. And so shout out to Bernie Dixon, the chairman of Launchpad 2X, which is a female, women-owned small business accelerator. So it's an amazing program. And if you are a woman who owns a business,
you are a woman, hear you roar,
and you are in the Atlanta area, hey, please feel free to go to launchpad2x.com to take a look at how you can get involved in the female entrepreneurship space here in Atlanta. All right, so we have dealt with a lot during these past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're going to share some of the things that we've been through, and then we're going to share some of the tips that help and is helping us get through this. I know many of you haven't started your business yet, but if you can just still stay tuned in and take notes, hopefully you can learn from our successes and our failures, and you won't make the same mistakes, okay? So how do we navigate through this tough time as a small business? Well, first of all, there's going to be some major changes that take place, either through your own personal journey or through your business, or both. I know for me, I've learned so much about myself during this time. I've learned so much about the position of our companies, and I've learned so much about communication. And this is probably the most important tool that we're going to be teaching you today, because it's going to help you get through the next step of this crisis as an entrepreneur. Okay? So, here are a few survival tips. We call these the must-dos. So, number one, you're going to have to slash some costs. You're going to have to cut some costs. This is probably going to be the toughest decision that you're going to have to make. If you haven't done it already, it's probably going to be the toughest decision that you're going to make, because a part of slashing costs is also slashing jobs. And I hate to make that statement, but the reality of the fact is that on a line item in your profit and loss statement, I can promise you that salaries is the highest amount.
Yeah, payroll
is the highest amount
of income. So ideally, of course, you would not want to deal with letting people go or firing people. That is one of the hardest things to do as an entrepreneur. Once you get into the actual business side of things, when you have staffing, of course, as a great leader, your heart goes out to those people who depend on you to be able to provide a revenue stream for them to be able to provide for their family. So I always kind of put that lower on my totem pole and say,
it's like the very last cost that I cut. It is. It's the very last cost that I cut. If I can do everything else to reduce costs without cutting jobs, I will do that first.
Especially in this season. Yeah.
Right. So what are some ways that we've cut costs, and what are some ways that you can cut costs? So are you renting a space? How much is that space renting for? Well, there are programs, or I would say co-worker spaces. One in particular is called Regis. We get no plug for that, but this is a free one for you. Regis has a virtual membership. So if you're paying for a rental space, or you're paying for office space, and that costs you, and you're not going to be in there for the next 2-3 months, I would highly urge you, if it's not a penalty to break the lease, I would highly urge you to go ahead and end that lease and go ahead and move over to a virtual office setting. And that is available through Regis.com, and there's other co-worker spaces, WeWork, and some other ones, but those are the two big ones. And jump over to the virtual office space. It's usually going to cost you about between $200 to $500, and for us, we were paying about $1,100 a month for office space. So we actually were able to reduce our costs significantly by moving over to a virtual office space.
Right. And so another method, if you sell product, is to start doing wholesale. You have to actually cut costs on your product. Right now, if it's just sitting in inventory and nobody's getting into it, so if you have a brick and mortar store, of course, there's nobody coming out. So you might want to start thinking creatively ways to kind of get that product out and begin to give discounts and sales. If anybody in the retail space understand what I'm saying, that is a strategy in order to boost sales as well as get rid of products. So you're not prepared once all this blow over to actually add more or new inventory into what you're doing.
Right, and if you have inventory, now Amazon is not accepting any new inventory right now. I think April 5th is when they'll be reopening the FBA. But if you have not looked into fulfillment by Amazon, that's what FBA stands for.
So all my e-commerce people.
If you have product that you're selling and you're spending a lot of money on storage space, I would highly suggest that you become an Amazon FBA seller, and then you can send your product to Amazon and let Amazon store your stuff, and then you can actually become a prime seller when you send it in to FBA. So your product might actually move faster than it's moving from your website or from Shopify. So that is a freebie for you.
Right.
Okay.
Hopefully, if you're a Shopify expert, you're already connected to Amazon.
Yes, they do have an Amazon tool, but you still have to apply to become an Amazon FBA seller, and you have to have a solid FBA or a solid Amazon seller history in order to become an FBA seller. Okay, that was a free one. That's not even on my notes here.
All right, so number one is slashing costs. Figure out methods that you can slash your costs or cut costs during this time. And then number two, what is number two?
Number two is, now this is tied to slashing costs. Mm-hmm. After you've slashed the costs, you need to preserve your cash. Preserve as much cash as possible. Now is not the time to try new products. Now is not the time to do crazy marketing campaigns. Mm-hmm. Now is not the time for you to do your experiments, your business experiments. Yeah. You know, people do experiments.
Like, I'm test this product out to see how well it do.
Right. So we spend a lot of money on R&D to create new products.
So what is R&D for those who
research and development? Research and development.
Right. Because everybody's at different levels. They might not necessarily know all these business terms.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. You're right. All right. Okay. Touche. Okay, touches. Yeah, I know one shade, but I know two shades. Okay, so that one's pretty self-explanatory. Just preserve your cash as long as possible because we don't know how long this is going to last. They said it's going to hit the apex pretty soon, and then we're going to start going down the curve, and the curve will start flattening. But we don't know. We just know what they're telling us, and that's it. Until they find a cure or a vaccine, we are still unsure whether or not we're going to be able to be open even in the month from now.
Right. Okay? So you definitely want to preserve your cash because here's the thing, what's going on in the economy is also affecting the stock market and things like that. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're in a position that when things do wrap up, that you have the cash available to keep your business going.
Right. So with that said, number two, preserve your cash.
Yep.
All right. Number one, slash your costs.
Slash your costs.
Number two, preserve your cash.
Preserve the cash.
Number three.
Yes.
This is for those who are in the capital raising phase of your startup.
Yeah, this is good.
This is reconsider capital raising. So many of you who are raising money, you might be in seed fund, you might be during your seed phase, you might be in Series A, Series B, whatever series you're in. And I'm speaking to those who are raising money for their startup or raising money for their business right now. And they're raising it using traditional fundraising investing models. So that is through VCs, venture capital. That's what VC stands for. Angel investors. These are individual investors who invest in exchange for equity. So think about like a Shark Tank type of situation. All right. You may want to reconsider your capital fundraising right now because a lot of companies and a lot of investors are reallocating their funds towards relief efforts. So you may want to put it on pause, or you might want to start with friends and family who believe in your vision, who believe in your idea, and see if you can raise money there first.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, definitely. Friends and family. All
right. So what do you do if you just can't keep all your employees on? You just can't keep all your employees on, but you know this thing is about to end and you need people to help you with the ramp up. So how do you keep your cash and keep people?
I think first thing you do, you need to identify who those people are. Identify who are those key people that help keep the ball rolling, keep the steam moving, keeping the boat afloat. And then from those people, then you might have to say, you know what, I can't pay you concerning this particular amount that we have previously agreed on because this is what's happening. You might want to say, hey, you are interested, or would you be interested in some shares of the company? So you can kind of trade that off and say, hey, Ty, I give you 10% of the company if you're able to still provide what your normal job duties are and services.
10%? Well, right now, 10% is zero. But when the company starts ramping up again and you have key people in place and they're working for equity, they're going to make sure this business is successful as well.
Yeah, and then here's the thing. When you start giving people equity share, then people have more of a buy-in and they don't feel like they're working just for you. They're working for themselves because the more the business grows, the more money that they make.
Right. So number 4 is identify key talent. Identify key talent. This is number 4 or number 5? I think that's number 5.
It's
no, it's number 4. It's number 4. Okay. So number 5 is re-examine current debt structures. Re-examine current debt structures. So the Federal Reserve reduced the interest rates to 0 to 0.25%. It is extremely low to borrow, for banks to borrow. So if you have a loan with the bank, first start with what in the world?
You tongue-tied.
I am tongue-tied today. Goodness.
That's the advantage of live TV.
Yeah, I was like, cut.
You gotta edit yourself. Go ahead.
Start by refinancing your small business loan to a lower interest rate. Hopefully you've been keeping your credit up to par so that you can qualify for a refinance. But at the end of the day, you guys need to call every single creditor you have and ask them, because if you don't ask, I can tell you what the answer is going to be.
No.
It's going to be no.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Right.
Is that the same?
The closed mouths do not get fed.
Yeah.
But you can call right now. You can call if you have business credit cards, if you have a business loan, or any type of business debt. Call your creditors and ask for a deferment, first of all. You can ask for a deferment so that you can try to preserve your cash. And then secondly, you want to invite the banker to refinance. So inviting them, but they're inviting you basically to refinance with them. There are other banks like credit unions who have more favorable terms.
Right.
So if you can go to a credit union, especially, I know Navy Federal, if you're military or you have a family member that's military, Navy Federal has some of the best interest rates that I've ever seen. Another credit union that we have is LGE Credit Union. That is more southern, it's more southern Georgia. I think they have some in Florida, but I don't think they have any in like the West Coast or up north. So just look for your federal credit union or a community credit union, because they usually will have more favorable terms. Then you can refinance at a much lower rate and you can bring your payments down. If you're able to defer for 1 or 2 months, then that'll also keep your cash. You can be able to preserve your cash that way. Okay? So call your creditors right now. No, not right now, but after the show. Call your creditors and ask for a deferment or refinance, or if it's a credit card company, ask if they could restructure your interest rates. Sometimes you qualify for an evaluation, and if they can evaluate you for a new interest rate, then you may be able to come off that 23.99% that you're paying right now. And that is, that's a hard thing to have. Mm-hmm. But you may be able to get 11.9 or 7.9 or something like that. All right?
Yeah. So here.
So let's go back over.
So I do want to add, she mentioned that, and she's actually talking about businesses and what they can do. But I encourage you to do that for your own person.
Yeah, you're right.
You can call your creditors or whoever, and say, "Hey, this is what's going on. I'm sure you're not aware. Why am I tongue tied?
Tag you're it.
I'm sure you're aware of what's going on currently in the nation." And a lot of times they already have things and set up in place. When you just make the phone call, they will be accommodating.
Yep. So right, personal cards, personal debt,
do the same
thing.
Yep.
Do the same thing. And I promise you, it's working right now. So you might as well take advantage of all that has to offer right now, and hopefully you can have a little bit of relief in not knowing that you have to pay some of these bills. Just know that if you have a student loan, you should have already by now received an email stating that your student loan has been automatically placed in forbearance.
Yeah.
Automatically. It should have been automatic. But if you haven't seen that email, if you don't see it by the end of this week, call your student loan provider and tell them that you need them to do a COVID-19 forbearance, and they will do it. It is automatic, a part of the CARES Act. So just know this is your right now, okay?
Yep. So we're still talking about managing your emotions in troubled times, and you like, well, how are these helping managing my emotions?
Well, it's easy, because when your finances is out of order, your emotions are out of order. So we're trying to help get your financial life in order so that your emotions can then calm down. Hopefully we can help you calm your fears. Hopefully you can be rest assured that your bills are going to get paid. There are some things coming down the pipeline. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We don't have a lot of time to go over the CARES Act, but I can tell you that there is some help coming. There's help coming for your small business. There's help coming for you individually. And there's help coming for those who are in dire stress as an emergency loan.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went over number one, slash your costs.
Yeah.
Number two, preserve your cash. Number three, reconsider raising capital. Number four, identify key talent and possibly offer them equity. Number five, re-examine your current debt structures. And number six, last but certainly not least, communicate. Okay? Communicate to your customers.
Yep.
Communicate to your staff. Communicate to any stakeholder, your vendors,
your
partners,
yep,
board, suppliers, anybody who is a stakeholder of your business. Please communicate with them. They cannot read your mind. They don't know what the state of your business is. So they want to know if they're an investor, they want to know you're going to open up again so they can start making money. Your customers want to know, when can I buy my product again? Or when can I use your service again?
Yeah.
Your debtors want to know, or your vendors want to know, when are you going to pay me? Because they're going through the same thing too. Remember, this is a domino effect.
Yeah, we are all connected.
We're all in the same boat.
And I think during this season, we're realizing more and more how connected we are and how much we need each other in order to survive in this world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please make sure you're communicating with all the stakeholders involved with your business, and they won't be guessing where you stand.
Yeah.
So that is probably my number six, is probably my number one flaw. Communication. It's been like that for a long time, because I can get so inundated with the day-to-day work, with the task.
Yeah.
I'm very task-oriented.
Anybody task-oriented out there?
Task-oriented, that means you got to get the job done, and you want to get it done now, and you don't got time to be making no calls.
I got time to talk to you right now.
I got time to talk to you right now. And that has been my mode of operandi for a long time. But what I've understood is that once people, because your business is one, people, two, your product, three, profits. That's the last thing. Your profits is the last thing that you should be worried about. For me, is usually was the opposite. It was like, no, for me, it was like the process, because I spent so much time building the process.
Yeah.
So it would be like process, profits,
people. Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, the people are the ones that work the process. And the process is what makes the profit.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that until like recently, like 2 years ago.
Shout out to Marcus Lemonis if you watch.
Shout out to the prophet, CNBC,
People,
Marcus Lemonis.
Profit.
We learned all of that from there. And if you don't watch the show, I urge you, while you're inside and you have nothing else to do, binge watch The Prophet
Something that
on
will help.
CNBC. It's going to help you actually, and it's going to give you a good sense of understanding of how a business process works and how to generate profits. All right? So, we just gave you the top 6 survival tips for early stages companies. Hopefully you took some notes. Hopefully you have some tips that's going to keep you afloat during this time, this tough time. And I have placed on loveandentrepreneurship.com some resources during COVID-19. There are resources for small businesses that if you go on the website loveandentrepreneurship.com, it will give you a list of places that you can go to apply for low interest loans, grants. Yes, grants. That's money you don't have to pay back. We also have places that you can go to once they reopen, places you can go to for a business continuity plan, for a sustainability plan, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be in this position again. You should not have to be in a position to need money from the government. If you had 6 months to 12 months of working capital in your bank account, but that's not how businesses run. Even some of the larger companies didn't have it. So just know you're not alone. All right. So some of the resources that I want to tell you about is very, very helpful. So I'm going to just read out some places, and you can go online to loveandentrepreneurship.com and hit COVID-19 resources for entrepreneurship. It's on the home page, and as soon as you click it, it'll open up this tab, and you'll go through the packet. There are a lot of resources. We'll be updating this daily so that you can have the most up-to-date of what we have regarding resources for small businesses. But I really want to focus on the SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Program, which gives up to $2 million.
What you say?
$2 million. Up to. I said up to.
Oh,
up to $2 million.
It got me fine print.
For private companies, including nonprofits, so it doesn't have to be just for profit, also nonprofit. You have to have been in business for at least a year. So if you have your yearly financials from last year, then you qualify for it. And you have to have payroll expenses. So for us, we have a lot of payroll expenses, and we have a lot of expenses just overall for a business. So we went ahead and applied for the SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Program, which is, by the way, forgivable if you use it for payroll. So if you're using the funds to pay people's salary and to stay in business, you guys will not have to pay that back.
Yeah.
What? Say what?
And we know that payroll is the number one expense.
Right. So you can keep your people on the payroll. Now, if you're just not able to keep people on payroll, but you want to help your employees, make sure they have access to filing unemployment, because unemployment has now been tripled. I just said it. Tripled.
Say that again.
Tripled. Unemployment has been, it's actually, some people are like, I'm just going to stay on unemployment. I don't even want to go back to work. Because the amount that you get unemployment is going to be more than your salary. It's because they use an aggregate amount for what you made over a course of 12 months. And so if you worked at different companies and they paid into this unemployment insurance, then you've already been covered. So I would urge you to go to your employer and ask them, do you qualify for unemployment? I have half of my staff qualify, the other half do not qualify, because we do have a lot of contractors. But if you are an independent contractor, guess what? Guess what? You can apply for the loan assistance program as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use it for payroll, you don't have to pay it back. And guess who's on the payroll? You, independent contractor. So these are things that came down the pipeline this week. This document, the CARES Act, was 800 pages. I can't possibly read that whole thing.
Yeah, so you have a lot of time on your
to
hands.
But
you can go ahead and
you can
scan
definitely
through it.
go
800 pages. So
go to the CARES Act, and somebody said, "What are you talking about?"
CARES Act dictionary.
This is the recent legislation that just passed. The president just signed into law on Friday. That is a relief for pretty much 95% of America. The other 5% just so happen to be over 200,000, and that's why they don't qualify. But for the majority of Americans who don't make $200,000 a year, $198,000 to be specific, if you're married, and about $98,000 if you're single, most people make under $75,000. And as a result of that, there are some provisions, that is relief, that's coming your way. You've probably seen it on TV. You've probably seen it on a Facebook ad. These checks being printed. Well, that's not necessarily how it's going to come out. But just know, if you filed taxes 2018, year of 2018, then however you filed in 2018 is however you will. So let's say if you got married 2020. Or even you got married in 2019. Remember, the tax season is always 1 year behind. So if you got married in 2019 and you saw, oh, you're going to get $2,400 if you're married. Well, that doesn't apply to you because when you filed, you were still single. So you're going to actually get your single amount, but your spouse is also going to get their single amount. $1,200, right? So there are other things.
So how does that apply as a business owner?
Well, if you are getting these funds as a employee, then your employer has two options that they're probably going the route that they're going with you. They either file unemployment on your behalf, or they're going to put you back on the payroll. Okay? Or you probably never got off the payroll and you're getting paid right now. So these are the three different options that employers are getting. And some employers are just actually separating from employees altogether and doing separation notices. I'm not doing that. Okay? JP Morgan.
For any staff people that are watching this show.
JP Morgan Chase has a repayable loan. They also have a grant. More than $50 million is going into this fund for relief for small businesses. Facebook small business grant will be coming out in about in a few days. Facebook has a grant that will allow you to use Facebook ads, and you know that Facebook ads can cost a lot of money. And if you can get people drawn to your website and you can start selling supplies, inventory again, and this will help your business, then I urge you to apply for the Facebook grant. It's not out yet, but what you can do is go to facebook.com/business, and then you will click on the link that says Facebook Business Grant. It's not out yet, but you can put your email in there so they can notify you when it's out, when it comes out, okay? Because you want to be the first one to apply for it. Oh gosh, there are so many resources.
I don't think you got time.
So many resources. So we don't have a lot of time to go into this. But guys, go to loveandentrepreneurship.com. That's all the time we have for today. We're actually over time. And if we had advertisers, or if we had a producer, they would be like, cut. Thank God we're not on a major network. But we are out of time. Okay? Remember, these resources will be live.
We don't have to go like that.
Cut!
All right, so there's been a lot being said. Definitely go to loveandentrepreneurship.com. Shameless plug, but no, definitely there are resources there for you to go so you gather this other information that Ty spoke about. But also go back and binge watch the other videos because there are so much content there that will help you in your business and prepare. I was just earlier, we were on another conference call talking to individuals, and I was just sharing that this is a season now for you to regroup and prepare for your business and you as an individual, so that when this thing blows over, because it will, you'll be prepared for what's to come. You'll be in a better position to be able to serve your people, to be able in a better position to be able to provide better services. Right. Use this time to restructure your business. There's no time like the present.
And I urge you guys, if you haven't done this, if you haven't heard about what this is, just Google business continuity plan. Business continuity plan. That is an essential part of the sustainability of your business. And if you didn't have a plan before this, you should have a plan coming out of this. So that in the event anything else comes, let's say there's an earthquake or a natural disaster and you're in a position like this again, you have a plan that will keep you out of financial ruin. Okay, guys, that's all the time we have.
Well, I'm Chris Woods.
And I'm Ty Woods. Thank you for tuning in for Love and Entrepreneurship. Remember, you can follow us on social media at Love and Entrepreneurship all across all platforms, and visit us at loveandentrepreneurship.com.
Follow us. Go on the website.
Woo!
If you go on the website, you can ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer the questions. Whatever you have. So thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Talk to you later. See ya.